Well, I had some notes and I've misplaced them, so I'm going to see if I can do this from memory. Oh boy, these days that's not necessarily a good idea. But we're talking about transdermal methimazole or transdermal medications in general. If things have gone well for you, you haven't found it confusing at all. But if you have started running into some of the terminology and some of the choices, you're probably confused. I am going to see what I can do to decrease the confusion, and I hope I don't end up increasing it. In the meantime, before we get to all of that, I am going to say this is the Hyperthyroid Cats channel. I am Forrest Poston. I am not a vet. There are some questions, I suppose, about just what I really am. I've been asking myself that question for about 66 years, and I don't have a really good answer yet, so we'll move on. Please share the channel, share the video, subscribe, make comments, click the thumbs up button, click the notification bell, and tell your friends. All of that helps get this video sent out to more people. The YouTube algorithm, when it works properly, takes care of that, and hopefully someday I can actually start making a profit off of some of this. It would help. A lot of cats to feed around here and medicate. Now, transdermal. Real quick, just the word transdermal means cross skin. The base, which is the cream or gel that the medicine is mixed into, is something that is particularly good at passing through the skin. Some things pass through well, some things don't. So the base carries the medicine through the skin, and the capillaries take it up and spread it out through the body. Nice theory. So, starting point, base, again, that is just what we call whatever it is you put the medicine into. Even a liquid, I suppose you could say the liquid is the base. You'll hear people say cream, you'll hear people say gel. Yes, there are some slight differences, but for casual use, it's interchangeable. So base, cream, or gel, don't get confused. It's just essentially the same thing. It's whatever the medicine is in. Now, there are 3 primary types of base. For a long time, the most common was called PLO, which is a generic base, and I think there are several variations of it. I think the term is pluronic lecithin oragel, and I am not going to try to say that again. So PLO, that's what it is. It's just a generic base, typically pretty good. The rate of absorption, maybe not as high as would like, some risk of skin irritation. Because of that, the traditional Lipoderm base, and Lipoderm is a brand name, but it was the best base. It still is, really, because rate of absorption higher, risk of irritation lower. Now, as usual, that varies from cat to cat. There are some cats that do better on PLO. So, you try and you see what works. Well, a couple of years ago, they started using what is called an anhydrous Lipoderm. It may say anhydrous on the label. It may just say ANH. And I have a suspicion that some companies have been using it and not correctly marking it. Problem is that the risk of skin irritation it's just high. Now, I know, in the online groups, we are more likely to hear from people who have trouble. People who are not having problems don't tend to post, so that can create the illusion that the problem is worse than it is, but we see more problems with irritation from anhydrous Lipoderm than we ever did with any other base. And that's looking, what, 15 years now, thereabouts. I've been in these online groups. 10,000 or so cats have passed through the groups. So it's a pretty fair, size, can make a safe judgment. Anhydrous Lipoderm has a higher risk of skin irritation. Now that makes it a little unclear about absorption. I'm not sure if the absorption rate is as good even when you don't have the skin irritation. But I'd really like to see it off the market. Now, as I understand it, the move towards the anhydrous is supposedly because it lasts longer, up to 6 months. So you can, well, I think the companies would tell you this is to your benefit. So, you order get a bigger batch, lower average cost, and can, keep it longer. Of course, that doesn't help if you have to change the dosing. And I think it's really more because the big companies want to make large batches. And I think one of the big companies actually got caught with a bad batch of regular Lipoderm. I have not fully confirmed that. It showed up in some of the discussions. It is a company that has had quality control issues. And I'm not going to name the company. I don't want to take that much risk. But for a while, just before this, there were arguments over how long Lipoderm lasts. Some were saying you had to get it every 30 days. Sources that I trust were saying 3 months, which is plenty. You really don't need to be getting more than 3 months of the medication because so many changes can happen. So the problems with regular Lipoderm are an illusion. But there's been a push getting more and more of the compounding pharmacies to use anhydrous Lipoderm. It's getting harder to find one that will use regular Lipoderm. To me, it is a deal breaker. There is a third base that's getting used a little. It's fairly uncommon. It's called Versa base. And I think it is relatively similar to Lipoderm. Again, that is a brand name. There is also, I think, Versa base Pro, which is anhydrous. So if somebody says they use Versa base, you have to ask whether or not it's anhydrous and make very sure. Ideally, get it in an email so it's in writing. Versa base seems to be fairly good, like I think comparable to Lipoderm in results. Haven't seen it used enough to be sure. Now, with some compounding pharmacies, they may tell you they make their own base, which may or may not be a PLO base, and it's fine to try it. It may be an excellent base. My ideal is regular Lipoderm. My second choice would be regular Versa base. Third would be a generic PLO. I would find some other way to give the medicine before I would use an anhydrous form. I think the risks are just too high. And personally, I'd like to see enough people refuse to use it to force companies back to the regular Lipoderm. I don't expect that to happen. But those are the basic factors in transdermal. I need to do a video too about the 1 milliliter syringes versus the twist or the click pens, and there are some other questions and issues when using transdermal, but this at least covers some of the options and the terminology. I hope it helps. I hope I got the name for PLO correct, and we'll move on from there. Thanks for watching. Please check out the other videos. Some of them make more sense. Maybe some of them don't. But I'll keep making videos and keep hoping. Say hello to the cats for me, and I'll see you later.